Hello, future Watem here, and I've just been editing this part. Wanted to ask you what your thought about the titles which I've been giving the parts from this chapter. Should I keep doing them? Any other recommendations about them? In any case, let me know feedback. Without any further ado, I will pass you on to Pass Me. Hello, welcome back. Watem here. There's some sort of order which I'll get around to never. Let's continue to Higurashi When They Cry. But it didn't feel good, like when I drink Amazake. It was more like being car sick. I felt like I was going to throw up. My brain was probably secreting some chemical in order to avoid facing the reality that I'd have to stay with this woman, that I couldn't run away from her. But even if my brain tried to avoid recognizing it, the reality in front of me wouldn't change.
そうそう。ねえ、レイナちゃん。
なんでしょう。
どうしたの？気分悪いの？
いえ、平気です。
I inhaled fresh air and pulled my consciousness back to reality. I didn't feel like throwing up anymore, but I still felt off balance. I leaned onto a scrap of garbage to keep my balance.
私はレイナちゃんのこと好きよ。
No, you don't.
レイナちゃんは私のこと好き？
何ですか、突然。
I said that because I didn't want to say that I like her.
私ね、ずっとあなたのお父さんとお付き合いをしているんだけど、いろいろと話し合ってね。
I need to stop feeling like this. Get up, Rena. I'd heard something like this before. Part of me was trying to understand what this woman was trying to say, but another part of me was trying not to. I felt as if her words were bouncing around in my head, and I started having a headache.
それでね、これからのことを真剣に話し合ったのよ。これからの生活やいろいろよ。
What?
レイナも秋人おじさんのこと好きでしょ？それでね、お母さん。
What's going on? Mother? What are you thinking about, Rena? This is an important moment. You're about to have a one-on-one battle with Rina-san. No, Mum, what about my dad? What about me? I don't want you to divorce him. I don't want you to get remarried to anybody else. No, please don't divorce him. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you get remarried.
再婚なんて許さないです。
え？
お父さんとどういう付き合い方をしたって構いませんが、再婚なんて許さないです。
She must have not thought that I'd say it straight out like that. I'm also not sure if you can hear it right now, but I think there's a protest going on outside. I can hear it quite loudly. I'm not sure if my mic will pick it up though. Oh, this is interesting music as well. She looked stunned. After a while, she broke the silence with her laughter.
拒絶もあるかなとは思ってたけど、ここまではっきり言われるとは思わなかったもんだから。
拒絶もあるかなと思っていました。私が拒絶していたのに気づいていたのは意外でした。
そんなのわかるでしょ。
That's... She's a vampire! Run away, everyone! She's a vampire! Oh dear. She definitely seems angry.
あんた、私と目を合わせるとすぐ逃げるもん。それで分かってないなんて思ってた？子供は嫌ね。
She frowned, revealing her ugly self. Should have been the first time I saw her face like that, but I wasn't surprised at all. Face had looked like that to me from the beginning.
できれば上辺だけでもあんたとは仲良くしてたかったんだけど、ここまで嫌われちゃ難しいわね。私のどこが気に入んないの？工学のために教えてよ。
最初っから全部。匂いも嫌い。
One vicious word came out of my mouth after another. I didn't have wings, but I felt as if I was flying up to the sky. I felt weird and uncomfortable, but also exhilarated. I felt as if... What? I was letting another use my body. I'm guessing it's missing an eye in there. I was in the middle of a disastrous battlefield, but I felt like it wasn't even my business.
そりゃあ好都合ね。私もあんたのこと嫌いだったからお互い様よね。なめんなクソガキ。ガタガタ言わされてえか。
二度と家へ来ないでください。再婚なんて私が絶対に許さない。
別にあんたに許してもらわなくてもいいんだけど。まああんたがうまく立ち回ってお父さんに再婚を断念させたきゃさせてごらんって。そんなの今さら意味ないし。
She didn't look intimidated by me at all. That made me feel a little intimidated in return. How was she so confident about her absolute control of my father? She had to have more than confidence to be able to act as fearless as this. She must have something tangible. Before I asked her what it was, she told me herself. Yep, she is so
私ね、
intelligent.
プロポーズされたの。
嘘だ。
嘘じゃないわよ。本当よ。
It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a big lie. She has to divorce because she got pregnant. She has to get married because she got pregnant. That's a lie, that's a big lie.
向こうからのお願いだから聞かないわけにもいかないしね。
Sure.
指輪ももらっちゃったし。それに結婚を前提のお付き合いだったわけだしね。指輪まで送っておいて今さらちゃぶ台返しなんてことになると最近は問題が多いわよね。
それが最初から目的のくせに。私は聞いてるんだ。お前と鉄という男が二人で喫茶店で話しているところを聞いてるんだ。お父さんのお金を目当てに近づいたのを知っている。
Why do you give all the information you have? Information's important. Information's power.
ひなみ沢の旦那と呼んで詐欺にかけようとしていることを知ってる。葛西さんに聞いたから全部知ってるんだ。詐欺師だってことも全部知ってるんだ。
あら、全部知ってるんだ。あらららららら。
Before I knew it, Rena was standing right in front of me. We glared at each other with our faces almost touching.
で、レイナちゃんはそこまで知っててどうしようってわけ？
Murder you?
お父さんに二度と近づ
嫌よって言ったら？
お父さんに二度と近づかないでください。
Skip the first time.
こんな秘密の隠れ家に誘ってくれての話だからね。そういうお話かなとは思ってたのよ。だってここ秘密の隠れ家なんでしょ？
Where no one would hear you scream and die.
誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない秘密の場所なんでしょ？
ええ、そうですよ。誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない、誰も訪れることのない忘れられた場所。
Our faces were so close to each other that our noses could almost touch. I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't know what would happen next. I couldn't back down now that I'd come to this point, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I should do.
いやだ、何をマジになってんだかね。
Yeah, let's not murder her.
ほらほら、仲直り。
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Rena started laughing and slapped me on the back. My expression didn't change, and I kept staring at Rena, but I didn't notice her real intention of putting both her arms around my neck. Tension broke. already stretched thin, and Rina squeezed my neck hard. I was openly hostile, but I didn't realize Rina's evil intentions until she started choking me.
子供のくせに舐めやがってよ。もうちょいでうん千万って金が転がるんだよ。上辺だけでも仲良しってことになってりゃ小遣いの少しもやろうって思ってたのにな。口ばっかり滑らしかうんだらねえとこでまだるっこし血にさらせやこら。
I tried to pry her hands off my neck, but I didn't have the strength to do so. So wait, was she actually trying to marry him? Or was she trying to marry him to then divorce him to get the money? Maybe.
殺しはしたかなかったんだけどね。二度とこんなうまいかもにゃ会えないだろうしさ。
Yep.
てめえ閉めてうん千万なら悪くはないさね。どうせ巻き上げたら蒸発するつもりだったしさ。
No, no, okay. She was going to this.
上等くれたらこの野郎。
The world around me got darker and darker. I had never known an evil intention like this, namely the intention to kill me. It didn't scare me though. That's because being scared is a feeling that people use to express how they feel when they see wildfire on the other side of a river. People on the island with the wildfire, with their deaths right in front of them, they don't get scared. If I loosened my grip on her hands even a little bit, she'd crush my throat. This was a simple competition to see who was stronger. Rina wanted to get me into the most advantageous position, so she tried to push me down to the ground so that she could mount me. If I let her do that, I wouldn't stand a chance. I tried to keep my current position, but I was losing a lot of energy by being choked. It was only a matter of time before Rina could push me down. I lost my balance on purpose. I tried to fall backwards in order to put her off balance. I couldn't hold my breath long enough to keep up that strength competition, so I had no choice but to take that chance. We fell on the ground, tangled together. But as Rena was strongly determined to kill me, she didn't even take her hands away from my neck after she fell. However, my action made Rena lose her grip on my throat. It wasn't loose enough for me to break free from her grip, but it gave me a few moments to use my hands for something other than stopping her from crushing my throat. If I hadn't taken this chance, I would have been done for. That's why I tried to literally seize my chance. I moved both of my hands on the ground to seize that chance. I felt a piece of broken glass on my right hand. That was truly my chance to literally save myself from the brink of death. I cut Rena's wrist deep with a piece of glass. Rena tried to endure the pain for a few seconds, but pain that severe from someone so cornered soon broke her will. She let go of my throat to cling to her bloody wrist. I used that moment to roll away from her. She screamed, both in pain and also to try and intimidate me again. It didn't work anymore though. Intimidation only works on the opponent when the opponent is hesitant to fight. When you're already in a fight, screaming like that means nothing more than letting the opponent know how badly you're hurt. I no longer had any hesitation. I had learned from Rina. She taught me what I have to do in a situation like this. That's right, this is my secret hideout. I know every single piece of junk in here. Maybe I knew that a day like this was coming. Was it just a coincidence that it was here? I had pulled out a meter-long lead pipe, not at all surprised to see it there. I raised it high and brought it back down. There was no way Rina could block this hard and heavy lead pipe with just her arms. She'd probably tried to block it with the palms of her hands in order to take it from me. But her long nails wouldn't let that happen. Eek. That sound. Unable to catch it the way she wanted, she broke her fingers and some of her nails came off too. Her scream made me realize that I had the advantage. An advantage I would have to keep. If I didn't, she'd turn the tables just like I did, and then she'd choke me to death for sure. Who would stop after you literally told them you were going to kill them? Not just knock you out, but kill you. Rina shielded her head with her arms, but it didn't help. All of it would change, as if I'd break her arms before I broke her face. You're an idiot. I'm serious too. Die, die, die. You should die. Yeah, that's right. I should have done this a long time ago. I didn't need proof. I didn't have to talk to anybody. That's stupid. That's nonsense. I should have done this a long time ago. If I'd done it a long time ago, my father wouldn't have been deceived. I could have protected him. I could have protected my family. I could have protected my life. I could have been myself. My mother wouldn't have divorced my father. I could have stayed happy. I wouldn't have had to be unhappy. I'm going to recapture my happiness. At this moment, I'm going to win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry for misfortune. I'm not going to give in to a face of unhappiness. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to seize my happiness. Right now, with my own 2 hands. Is this what the opening scene in, oh, what was the first game called again? Let me just open up Steam. Second one was Higurashi. 4, 3, 2. Onikakushi. Is this the sound from the start of Onikakushi, maybe? But as she no longer had the use of her hands, it made it difficult for her to stand up to escape, especially since there were scraps of junk everywhere on the ground. After all, this is my hideout. This is my territory. Nobody can run away from me here. I also kind of wonder, I need to go back and check, what was the reason in the end for her death? I don't think they explained that in the third game. She tried to climb up the slope of garbage, slipped, fell, and rolled all the way back down. She didn't stand up or move. Her eyes were open, but her neck was bent at an unnatural angle. I didn't know how to make sure she was dead, so I kept looking at her opened eyes for a while. She could be faking it for all I know, but she didn't close her eyes no matter how long I waited. I scooped up a handful of sand and threw it on her face. She still didn't close her eyes. The lead pipe slipped out of my hand and hit the ground. When I tried to pick it up, I realized how heavy it was, and I was surprised that I was wielding it as though it was a knife. I was sweating all over. The cold wind felt good on my skin. The cries of Higurashi were calming me down and healing my soul. Rina was just like a broken dummy now. She'd become a piece of junk. I am the owner of this land of junk, and I've defended it from her intrusion. Now she was a resident of this junkyard. I didn't feel bad about killing her. In fact, I felt rather fulfilled that I had defeated the evil woman who had deceived my father. I started breathing slowly and calmly, and I regained enough energy to analyze the situation. I'd have to hide her body. First, I had to get rid of her scooter. I climbed up the slope and kicked her scooter down the hill. It rolled down the slope, making a lot of noise, and blended in with all the junk as it stopped, like it was there from the beginning. I went back down the slope and started dragging her body to my hideout. I should have taken as much effort as dragging a 50-kilogram sandbag, but it felt lighter than that, yeah. I mean, have you heard of dead weight? It's called dead weight for a reason. It was just like a sandbag, yet it brought disaster to my family. I didn't lure her here in order to kill her, or did I? Maybe I just didn't notice that, so I had that intention deep down in my heart. But even so, I felt like this was the best and most expedient solution. There was no better solution than killing her. How wasteful to depend on someone to help me, to wait for the day to come when they will. I remembered the murder of Satoshi-kun's aunt that happened last year. I had no doubt that Satoshi-kun murdered her, but I've never been as convinced as I am right at this moment. How could he have saved Satoko-chan, other than by killing his aunt last year, at that time, in that circumstance? My situation is much the same as his. How could I have saved my father other than by killing her? If I was planning a murder, I would have been under a lot of pressure and stress. But for better or for worse, the moment came to me out of nowhere. That's why. I believe I solved my problem with as little trouble as possible. Now that she's gone, will anyone become suspicious about her disappearance? Sue is an irresponsible person who skipped work on her own convenience. So, I don't think anybody would get suspicious when she disappeared one day. She was a big mess from the start. People will think she went into hiding because she got into deep trouble with someone. I didn't need to fabricate an alibi. All I needed to do was get rid of her body. It took me a while to figure out how to do that last part. Hiding her body would be very risky. My brain had become so calm that it did some calculations and came up with an answer right away. Yes, this place is still the safest. This is a place forgotten. Nobody comes here. Nobody knows this place is here. I knew that because I'd been spending a lot of time here. Compared to the risk of carrying her body to some other place, it was a lot safer to just hide it here. But it wasn't perfect yet. This place wouldn't remain a secret forever. I could hide it here for now, but I'd have to come up with a perfect way to make it completely disappear. It's a lot easier to think about that than thinking about how to make Rina break up with my father. I stuffed her corpse into a broken refrigerator in a trash pile. The reason for that pause is I had a thought, but then instantly realised that it wasn't possible. Like, I had thought that maybe Takano-san uses it as her fake body, but even in the route where Keiichi kills the uncle, that's the route where her body has already been found. Rina's body has already been found. I wanted to cover the refrigerator with dirt and bury it, but that was too easy. I had to chop the corpse into pieces and make them completely disappear. I felt like it got dark all of a sudden. No, it didn't get dark all of a sudden. I just didn't realize it was getting dark until just then. I could hear thunder from a distance. It might rain soon. That wasn't the sound effect for thunder. I could use some rain. It would wash Rina's dirty blood into the ground. I should go home. I should think about what I'd do tomorrow. I was going to stay right beside my father until he forgets about her. He might be hurt at first, but we're going to recapture our happiness for sure. Our happy, peaceful life. My body was heavy with exhaustion, but I also felt fulfilled because I took a very important first step today. I'll keep taking one step after another. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to cry until I win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry again. So that was a quicker death than I expected, going to be honest.
再婚なんかする必要ないよ。
That was the first thing I said after I got home. My father looked stunned. He noticed the sad tone in my voice, and realizing that I didn't agree with the idea of his dream marriage, he looked down.
無理もないよな。レイナの気持ちもわかるよ。事前にレイナにもよく相談。
プロポーズなんて取り消せばいい。あんな女。
あんな女なんて言い方しちゃダメだ。リナさんは。
本当のことを話す。あの女と鉄という男は二人組の悪人。我が家の財産を狙ってお父さんに近づいてきただけ。
My father didn't get it right away, of course. He looked upset instead of because I called her that woman. He should have chosen my words a little more carefully, but I think I told him the truth clearly enough. I told him everything I heard and saw at the coffee house. As expected, he defended Rina anyway. I was upset, but at the same time, it made me certain there was no other way than to kill her. felt the pressure on my shoulders lessen for some reason. My father thought he needed my approval for his remarriage, so he held back his anger and put a fake smile on his face instead.
なあレイナ、もう一度ゆっくりとお父さんたちと話し合おう。そうすればきっと分かってくれるから。
A tamed animal is still tamed, even after the owner is dead. That's okay. I'll open the gate anyway. Even a tamed animal will notice one day that he's no longer in captivity. It's not something I could teach him. He had to realize it on his own. I couldn't stand his fake smile anymore, so I left the living room. Time healed the pain from the divorce. Time heals any kind of pain, just like how dripping water will eventually bore a hole through solid rock. I did what I could. Now, I'd have to wait. The day I was going to wait for came earlier than I expected. At midnight of the following day, we had a visitor. It was that Tech-chan man. Teppei Hojo. Teppei didn't even knock on the door to get in. He broke into the house by smashing the window. At first I thought he came here to ask us about Rina's whereabouts, but I was wrong. The real reason why Teppei came here was because it was their plan. It was the last stage of their badger game. Rina was probably supposed to be in bed with my father at that time tonight. Teppei must have wanted to show up and catch them sleeping together. Teppei looked around the house, but he couldn't find Rina. He didn't change the plan though. He grabbed my father by his collar and started yelling threats. He showed my father a certificate of marriage to Rina and shouted at him saying, "You got my wife pregnant, how are you going to take responsibility?" My father had no idea she was married. He looked shocked. My father is a short guy who was faint of heart. He just let Teppei do and say whatever he wanted from the beginning to end. He looked at them from a distance coldly. The more Teppei yelled and threatened my father, the faster he'd wake up from his bad dream. This was medicine for him. Teppei was cutting out the cancer that I was going to depend on time to do, and he was doing a great job of it. I waited to help my father until I was sure he had finally awakened from his bad dream. I told Teppei that I had something very important to tell him and took him outside.
で、なんじゃい？重要な話っちゅうんは。
リナさんって昨日以来沖宮に帰ってますか？
ん？
実はリナさん、事情があって隠れてるんです。
あ？どういうこっちゃ？
リナさんから哲平さんが来たら連れてきてほしいと言われてるんです。
She's going to kill him as well?
あ？リツコのやつどうしたんね？
Teppei followed me without hesitation. We walked in the dark with a flashlight to a place where nobody comes. Nobody can hear us. The place forgotten. He asked me many things on the way, but I couldn't answer any of them. I just told him to ask Rina. The way he said it seemed to make him think that Rina was going to betray him and get married to my father for real. Even though he was breathing heavily in a rage, he walked right behind me without any suspicions. I knew this day was going to come very soon, so I was well prepared for it. I reached the place where I originally planned to bring him, and I turned off the flashlight all of a sudden.
どうしたんね？
Oh, right, because it's completely dark, like the world outside doesn't exist when she turned off the lamp in the car. And besides, when your eyes haven't adjusted to the darkness yet, everyone gets nervous when the only light in the dark goes off. But this is my territory. I didn't need any light. I could feel my surroundings even better with my eyes closed. I grabbed the big hatchet I'd hidden in a bush and lifted it up high.
ごめんなさい。電池の接触不良かな。ちょ
Oh,
っと待ってくださいね。
oh, she
あ
is
あ、はよせんとね。
She is way too good at this. I purposely sounded weak and helpless while I raised the hatchet into the air.
ああ、ライターあるわ。出すんね。
Teppei found a lighter in his pocket and lit it up. He probably couldn't understand the sight illuminated by that small light. He saw a girl lifting up a big hatchet right in front of them.
Huh? Oh.
Tepe's eyes went wide. He didn't understand what was going on, but he understood that his life was in danger. And yet, he must not have been able to think fast enough to deal with it, even though he understood what he should do. Even if he could think fast enough and blocked his head with his arms, it wouldn't have meant anything. I knew Tepe would come to my house eventually. That's why I prepared for that day. I just didn't think that preparation was going to bear fruit tonight. I chose my weapon very carefully. I planned when, where, and how I was going to attack him. And so, there can only be one result. The hatchet cut deeply into his forehead. I felt an indescribable vibration through the hatchet when it hit him, and this told me that I broke his skull. He bragged about how good he was at fighting at the coffee house, but he sure went down quickly when faced with a murderous weapon. He was done in by a single blow. Tepe slowly fell to his side with a hatchet in his forehead. He looked like a victim in a B-movie. I killed this big guy with just one hatchet. He was probably quite experienced in the world of violence, but I was better than him when it came to killing. Why? Because I've killed someone before. It's all done now. The bad people who deceived my father and tried to rob him blind are all gone. I did what I had to do in order to protect my life. If I had this much courage and determination when my mum told me about the divorce, I might have killed Akihito. If I did, I would have taken the life of anyone. Because I couldn't do it back then. I've had to kill 2 people in the last 2 days. Lena, let's finish it up. There's already a place to hide his body. I took care of everything. My hands were wet, shone with a flashlight at them. I thought it was blood, but it was just sweat. Even so, it still felt uncomfortable, and shone with a flashlight at my hand several times. I did all this in order to be happy. I did all this, so I should be happy now. I tried so hard that I got blood on my hands. I wanted to get credit for that from him. Oyashiro-sama, let me ask you a question. I can finally rewind the time back to the day everything started to go wrong, can't I? I'm going to stay in Hinmazao. I'm going to live happily with my father forever. And I'll leave it there for today. I hope you've all enjoyed. Murder. And until next time. Let me know any feedback in the comments first. But until next time, see ya.